In this video, we will be talking about simple interest and compound interest in 3 steps. Number 1, easy and visual definition of both types. Number 2, the implications if you choose one versus the other. And number 3, the math behind, even though you don't need to know it to take advantage of the power of compound interest. Pre-framing. When we talk about interest, we need to establish 3 parameters. C is the capital, the money that will produce more cash. R is the interest rate, the percentage return the capital produces. T is the time, that is the period of consideration. Step number 1, definition. What is simple interest? Is the interest on the capital in a given time. Let's see a numerical example. A capital of 100,000 at an interest rate of 4% a year will yield or produce 4,000 every year, since 4% of 100,000 is 4,000 that we will have available for withdrawal. Let's go with a visual example now. Let's imagine that we have a hen that lays 1 egg per day. If we visit the hen house once a week to remove the eggs, the yield will be 7 eggs per week, week after week. Now, what's compound interest? Is the interest on the interest, which keeps being added to the capital. Let's do some numbers now. A capital of 100,000 at an interest rate of 4% a year will yield or produce 4,000 the first year. So now we have 104,000. On year 2, at 4% again, we would have 108,160. On year 3, at 4%, 112,486, and so on. After 30 years, we would have produced 324,340 versus the 120,000 on the simple interest. The longer the time, the bigger the difference between both types of interest. Let's go with a visual example now. We have a hen that lays 1 egg per day, which means 7 eggs per week. Now, instead of removing these eggs, we keep them, as the chicks inside will grow to be hens that will produce 1 egg per day. To make it simple, let's pretend that each egg will hatch a chick that will grow and lay 1 egg per day. This way, at the end of week 1, we will have 7 hens plus the mother, 8 hens. Week 2, 7 new hens per day from the 8 hens, that is 7 times 7 plus 8, 57. Week 3, 7 to the power of 3 plus 57, that's 400. On week 5, 7 to the power of 5 plus the hens on week 4, which is 2,801, and that makes a total of 19,608. Number 2, what are the implications? When it comes to money, we will make more when we choose the compound interest versus the simple interest and use longer periods of time. The math. First, let's see a chart in which we can see the difference in growth of simple interest versus compound interest, using the same capital, the same interest, and the same time. As it can be seen, the final capital increases faster with compound interest. The growth with simple interest is linear. Simple interest, SI, is calculated as C times R times T, where C is the initial capital, R is the rate of interest expressed as a percentage, and T is the time. The formula to calculate the final capital at any time is as follows: F equals C plus SI, where F is the final capital at any time, C is the initial capital, and SI is the simple interest. If we do some substitution and tidy up the formula, we get F equals capital times 1 plus rate of interest times T. In the example of the chart, if we want to know what the final capital will be starting with 100,000 at 20% growth per year after 15 years, we apply the formula as follows: F equals 100,000 times 1 plus 20% times 15, which is 400,000. The growth with compound interest is logarithmic. The formula to calculate the final capital at any time is as follows: F equals C times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT, where C is the initial capital, R is the interest rate, N is the number of times the interest is applied per time period, and T is the number of time periods. In the example of the chart, if we want to know what the final capital will be starting with 100,000 at 20% growth per year after 15 years, we apply the formula as follows: F equals 100,000 times 1 plus 20 over 1 to the power of 1 times 15, which is 1,540,702. In conclusion, for exponential growth, let your capital compound, otherwise we'll be killing the hens. Let's let them lay as many eggs, chicks, and hens as possible. They are your income-producing assets and your wealth accumulation vehicle that takes you to financial freedom. Find us in the media as Empowered Supernova and at www.ticn.ie. For more information, contact us at ana@ticn.ie, ana@ticn.ie. Thank you.